clarity and focus. It's a little hectic, right? Right? A little chaotic, a little confusing and scary. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for me. I'm in front of you. That's even more scary. They're all looking at me with these eyes like, what do you do? But life is a little confusing, and it's like it's coming to an end, right? It's all over now. It's all coming to a conclusion. This is like the big finale. And tonight is a part of that grand finale, right? Maybe not. It's not really an end, I don't think. I think this is part of kind of a celebration of all you've accomplished and done, whether or not you know where you're going. I think this is kind of a celebration and a night to gain focus and some sanity amidst the chaos of this thing we call graduation. I think tonight is a night for some of your senioritis to wear off. You think? Clear out the cobwebs. And before you get out there in the real world, as your parents call it, I think it's a few moments to ponder the past and look to the future. Because it's the end. And it's over. The end of the road. Closing the door. I could sing a nice, pretty song about that. It wouldn't be pretty. But we're not going to do that. You know, you can listen to these Boyz II Men songs all day long and cry because it's the end of the road. But it's not. It's not the end of the road. It's just a changing. It's something new, and it's just a transition. There's no end here. All right? Don't get confused. There's no end with this. Whether you're going to go on to do more schooling, or to get a job, or to be a mom, or a dad, or whatever are in your future plans, this isn't the end of anything. Maybe you're moving on to that big exciting question mark you've got in your future. You still haven't figured out what it is. It's not an end. It's not you're still a student and a teacher of life. You're still a son or a daughter. You're still a grandchild, a brother or a sister. You're still a friend. Those things don't change. We're carrying on with life. And it doesn't matter where you're headed or what's going to change or how this will change. You're still a part of this community. You're still a part of this school. Yes, even you that checked out 6 months ago mentally, or a year ago, or 2 years ago, and somehow still managed to finish. You're still a part of this community and this school. And you will forever be a part of the class of 2012 at Carl Junction High School. But in this time, you know, looking back over the years leading up to today, no matter how much you loved them, no matter how easy or hard they were, no matter how confusing they were, or how much of a blur your life looks like looking back, those pages, or those events, this history you have, is really just a page in your story, in the book that we'll call your life. Looking back, it's probably hard sometimes to look at some of those memories, and it's fun sometimes to look at those memories. But those years that you look back on, they are a page in the book that is the story of your life. But the book is not ending here. The story's not over. This is really just the turning of a page. You know, when you read a good book, and it's like a real page-turner, I'm not much of a book reader, but I hear there are books that are page-turners, and that means that you really like it. So, let's say you have one of those books, and it's really a page-turner. How many of you read Hunger Games stuff? Oh my, yeah, I've never read it, but I hear it's good. So, it's a real page-turner, and when you're turning the page, you know what's interesting about the turning of a page? You probably didn't realize it. When you turn the page, it's like you take a moment to pause for a split second, and you think about everything that's happened up until that page turning happens. And then you've got this excitement and this anticipation and this wonder and this awe and this confusion and sometimes this fear, a lot of times this fear, about what's next in this book that I'm about to read. Tonight, this is the turning of a page. It's the pause in this moment in your life when you think back and you think of all the things that have happened in your story up until now, and you think about what's to come. What's next in your book? What's moving up? You know, when you think of that, you think, man, I wish there were Cliff's Notes. I wish there was like a back cover I could read. I don't know if you guys know what accelerated reader is. Do you guys have anything like that in life? Do you guys have anything like that? Where you have to read a book and then take a test on? Well, I hope none of my old teachers are here. They're not old. I'm saying the teachers I had a long time ago. Anyhow, I'm sorry. But we did Accelerated Reader, and I always like to read the back. And then maybe if there was like a Cliff Notes thing, I'd look it up on the internet or whatever, and then I could like take the test and not really read the book. This isn't confession time, I promise. But you know, I wish we sometimes we for our life so that we can kind of see what's coming, or at least get a clue as to what's ahead. But there's not. You know why there's not Cliff Notes for your life? Other than that's just creepy. Well, your life hasn't happened yet, and the pages are still blank. Everything that's coming up and the pages in your life are blank, and you're going to be forming those pages as you live. So the question is, and that's the cool part, you get to think that through. What are you going to do? Are you going to make a difference? Are you going to impact the world? What kind of legacy are you going to leave? How are you going to be remembered when you leave this life? How are you going to be remembered? How are people going to think of you and see you? And that's really cool to think about. The question, though, is how are you going to write the next page in your story? This page, you're turning the page right now, and as you leave, how are you going to write the next page in your story? You know, they have some options in that. There's a lot of people that just kind of float through life, and they don't really think about how they're writing their story. And they just take things as they come, and they move on, and they go, and they're like, hey, what? Oh, over here. I'm a little ADD. I do that sometimes. You know, it's like that rabbit trail. Oh, it's like surfing the internet, and then you find the end of the internet, and you don't know where to go. But that's exactly what a lot of people do. But you know, here's the thing. A lot of us really, really admire those people because they're lackadaisical, laid-back way of life. Until we see those people that in life have made an impact, and throughout history who've done amazing and great things. People like John Wycliffe, or C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, George Mueller, Martin Luther King Jr., William Wilberforce, Isaac Newton, George Washington Carver. The list could go on and on. And so you see the lives of those people, and then you say, you know what? They did something different. They've taken an opportunity. They've had a moment like this one, where it was a turning of a page in their life, and they took that moment and they committed to make a change so that they could make an impact on the world that they lived in. They had a moment where they realized that their identity, and listen to this, their identity is not in what society or culture or media tells them. And you know what? And this is a real shocker. Their identity was not in what people told them they were or what their friends said. Their identity was in something bigger. Their identity was in something more powerful. And you know what? Their identity was found in something even more elegant than that. These great people found that their identity was written on the pages of their story, just like yours. Your identity is written on the pages of that book that is your story of your life. That is what your identity is. Those people realized that. And they realized that that story that began when God first formed them, when God first formed you and molded you in the beginning pages of your story, and He placed His image on your life. And He gave you a plan and a purpose, and He gave you an extremely valuable and important role in this crazy, hectic world. Don't ever lose sight of that. And at the turning of the page, much like this moment for you, those people in that pause, they had a light bulb moment where they realized, my identity, my worth, is in something so much bigger than the things that surround me. My identity and my worth comes from someone that I've never seen. They found in that moment that they left something out of their story that really had been there all along. They had been leaving a main character out of their story, and they decided in that moment to include him back into it. In that pause, much like this one, they realized in that moment, when they looked ahead and they saw uncertainty, they saw confusion, they saw excitement. They saw all that you're seeing in your life that's ahead. But they also saw another thing, that they had left God out of the equation. And in that moment, they turned to God for inspiration. And then they chose the biggest thing they could ever choose, and that was to write God back into their story. To write Him into the next page of their life. And if you do that as they did, you'll realize that, you know what, your story is not just a novel. It's not just some book that's going to sit on a shelf somewhere. But it's going to be forever impactful. It's going to be important. And it's going to be not just a single novel, but it's going to be in a trilogy, or it's bigger than a trilogy, right? What do you call it when there's a million? I don't know. You guys are smart. But that's what your story is. It's a part of a bigger picture, right? And that main character in that story and that common goal in all of those novels is God. And He's alive and well, and He's at work in it all. So the challenge for you is this. You are at the turning of a page in your story. You're preparing to write the next chapter in your story, the next page in your story. And it's awkward, it's exciting, it's scary, it's unknown, it's confusing. Fill in the blank. But as we pause together here, and we turn that page together, and as we choose how we're going to write that, I want to challenge you to do great things, to be great. I want to challenge you to be active, be aware, be present in your choices. And most importantly, I want to challenge you to consider God as you write that next page. Look back over the pages of your life, all the way to the back to the start of your story, and see the fingerprint on each and every page that you have written of your story. See God's fingerprints that He's left on those pages. And I want you to find your true identity, which is in Him, to seek Him for help and comfort, and most importantly, choose to write God into the next page of your story.